guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video for Honeybee Stamps. This is an edited replay of a live we did, honestly, quite some time ago. So we're going to be using the Lovely Layers Cupcakes and More, and then the Stamps and Dies of You're So Extra. It's a pretty clean and simple card, but the whole goal of the card is to share with you kind of coloring different textures. So I am going to do my die cutting out of white. I cut out 4 flavors of ice cream, a couple of cherries, and 1 ice cream cone. I wanted it to be, as the title of the stamp set is You're So Extra, so I wanted our ice cream cone to be very extra. I also cut out some sprinkles that I didn't end up using. But so we're going to start with the base, the cone, and there's, like, you could do milkshakes with this set, you can do cupcakes. There's a lot of different things that you can do with that die. So here I'm lining them up. I'm teaching it to you the way I would a complete beginner, and the way that I can help you be most successful. This isn't necessary for everybody, and just keep that in mind. So here I'm laying down my top layer onto my base layer, and what I'm doing is I'm doing a dot at the base of all of those diamonds, as well as a line at the top for the inside of the ice cream cone, which realistically we are not going to see. But I don't know what kind of cards you're going to want to color in the future, and so if you want to color the inside of the ice cream cone, I want you to know how. So I'm going to connect. It's like connect the dots. Those are still things, by the way. It's not just because I'm old. So I'm going to connect all of the dots with my darkest color. And here you're going to see that, like, as I move from left to right, that it created a shadow underneath all those X's. So now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go back in and mark the top of the little X's, and this time I'm going to connect the dots from right to left, which is going to give us this little crisscross pattern that you would, traditionally see with a ice cream cone. And then I am going to go over that with my mid-tone. I'm going to go right over the lines we made with the E57. And I'm only going to use those 2 colors in the background. So before we even add any color to the top, you can already see it's getting pretty dimensional. I'm saving my lightest color, which is my highlight color, for this top panel. And so we have the top piece of the cone. I'm laying that there so I can mark where the shadow will lay. Could I mark it without laying it there? Yes, I absolutely could, but that's not true of all Lovely Layers, and I try to very much keep it consistent, especially when I'm teaching you guys. So now I'm going to take my mid-tone and I am going to run it along the sides of each one of those lines. Not completely covering it, just along the side. And then on the top is where I'm going to fill in my lightest color. And then when we put them together, it very much looks like a 3D ice cream cone, which is what we want. The edges that you see me kind of very sloppily filling in is just so when we put it together that you won't see any of that white peeking through. I'm going to use that E57 very, very little around the sides and the bottom. Then I will put on my mid-tone, and then lastly my lightest color in the middle. We'll stack these all up. If you guys watch my channel, you know I do love a dry fit, so I like to put them all together and make sure I'm happy with how they're looking before I glue them together. Which is what we're going to do now. So I'm just going to glue my top piece onto our middle layer, and then both of those pieces onto the base layer, and then our cone will be done. This part right here with all the little dots can be a little bit tedious, but I mean, it moves pretty quickly. You don't have to get every dot. As long as it's enough to secure it there, you're going to be okay. So now let's talk ice cream. I picked ice cream in particular to show texture because we're going to be doing tone on tone texture. I think it is one of the better ways to show the texture without getting all kind of like muddled up with other things. So we're starting off with a good old-fashioned chocolate. which happens to be my favorite. It's going to be a dark chocolate, not a milk chocolate. So there's only 2 layers to this hard scooped ice cream. And so I marked where the shadows were going to be. All of the lovely layers have embossed details as well. So I am using those as a guide. So on the top, you can see I've added my shadows, but I'm rounding my strokes on the outside, and I'm doing that because my scoop is round. So I don't want to come across with a straight line. That will not mimic the actual texture that you would have from a smooth ice cream cone. For the bottom portion, I'm adding most of the shading to the bottom of where the ice cream is sitting, because the top is going to catch the light. The top is going to be pulled away from that smooth part of the scoop, and it's going to catch the most light. So now working back out from my darkest into my lightest, I am filling in that white area until there's only a small portion, which will be my highlight. If for some reason you feel like you're not getting the best blend, like that it's not smooth enough, you can always go back in and go over it again. So here, there's nothing wrong with this. I want you to understand that. This is a smooth ice cream scoop, and it looks very, very nice. Okay, I would be happy to put this on one of my cards. Very pretty. But we are going to add some more texture. So remember those embossed lines that I told you about that are already there? I am following along with those. I am adding those lines in there, and then I'm even kind of going to extend them up a little bit, because when you scoop ice cream, it gets smushed at the bottom, right? That's what causes it to kind of smush out the side. So when I'm adding them in, I'm adding little little C shapes. You saw me do it right over there on the glass mat. I know it can be hard to see on the darker colors. And then I'm working from my darkest color to my mid-tone, my dark mid-tone, my light mid-tone, and then to my lightest color. And I am doing that. Then I'm going to go back through on the kind of secondary I don't even know what to call it. The part that smushes out when you release your ice cream scoop. And I'm going to go back in and I'm going to do what we call stippling, which is a series of dots. It's just small dots. Again, saw me do them on the glass mat, and I'm going to bring those dots not all the way up because I still want that smooth texture, but I am going to put them on the part of the ice cream that kind of smushes out and the base where we've smushed the ice cream down. And you'll be able to see here how much texture and that adds so that it's not just a smooth ice cream scoop now. Now it looks more realistic. It looks like we scooped it right out of the container and put it down, and it has all that realistic texture. And we're going to go through different kinds of coloring here, but please know that practice makes progress. Practice does not make perfect. We're talking about different ones as we go, and different ways that you can switch it up. You don't have to be at any certain level. I'm just sharing the information with you so that you can practice and maybe have something to work towards. So now, our second flavor is strawberry, which is actually one of my least favorite flavors. So I want my shadows to have that red in them, but traditionally strawberry ice cream is more pink. And so I did choose colors that are going to be more on the pinker side. But we're coloring them first out the gate the same exact way, adding that shadow at the base, making sure that we're bringing the shading up about just a quarter of the way, using our mid-tone, this is sped up by the way, using our mid-tone to bring it up even further and circle around the top, and then finally our lightest color is going to fill in that center, and this is going to be a nice smooth ice cream. Again, nothing wrong with this. But here is where we're gonna change it up. So strawberry ice cream typically has like pieces of strawberry in it. So we're going to do the pieces of strawberry. The pieces of strawberry are usually darker color, but it is scary sometimes to start with our darkest color. So rather than start with our darkest color, we're going to go in with a lighter shade and kind of mark out where we want our strawberry pieces to be. And then once we're happy with that, we can go in with our darker color. In this case, an R59. If you're scared of going this dark, you can go with an R29. And this is just going to put like little pieces of strawberries in. And then I'm going to go back in with my R29, which is my darkest shading color. And I'm going to add a little bit of shading underneath it. And then out to the darkest mid-tone. This is going to give the appearance, adding that shading around that dark spot is going to give the appearance that those pieces are part of our ice cream, that they're not just dots sitting on top. Once we have those strawberry pieces in, we're going to go back through and do the same thing that we did with the chocolate. We're going to do our commas, following along those embossed lines. We are going to do our stippling to add that tone-on-tone texture. And this is just another variation. So if you want any kind of, I don't know what else would even be. I was thinking like blueberry, but is blueberry ice cream even a thing? Like if you wanted like blueberry ice cream, you would color this the same way you would just swap out your colors so that you would have your pieces in there and they would look like they were part of your scoop while not compromising the smooth portion of the ice cream and still having the added detail. You'll notice when I'm doing the stippling and the commas that I am using the lightest color to go right over top of the darker colors, and that's because with alcohol markers, lighter colors will remove a bit of the dark and it helps it to blend in. So don't skip doing your stippling or your commas with all of the colors you are using. Even if you think you're not going to be able to see it, it matters quite a bit in creating that texture. So now we have a strawberry ice cream cone with a little chocolate topper. Does anybody get one flavor? I don't know. I always get two. Mine are usually like a chocolate and a coffee. Though I will say that I do love like a cherry cordial kind of ice cream. Delicious. All right, so now I need a cherry on top of my ice cream. And so I'm going to use the same reds. While I have them out, I'm just going to go ahead and fill them in. I am paying attention a little bit to where that highlight is going to go. That highlight is going to go right in front of the dip. So where the cherry dips down for the stem, that's where I am going to put my highlight color. The back piece is really just for the stem. So I'm going to glue them together. Super happy with the way that my cherry came out, and then it's like, so you can see here, they're adorable. And then we're going to move on to our next color. The next flavor was a struggle for me. So I really wanted to do like a mint chocolate chip because I wanted to show you how to do the pieces inside of a flavor where they both weren't the same color, where it wasn't tone on tone. But mint chocolate chip ice cream, getting that color was a little bit of a challenge because I was picking colors and I was like, this is coming out way too green. This looks like, I don't know, like spinach ice cream. And really, who would want to even eat that, honestly? So I did have to kind of play around with my colors. Plus, this one right here was dry. It was dry. So we did have to switch over from a G16 to a G17. All of this part, the coloring is again still the same to get that smooth result. As I'm going through and trying the colors, this is when I'm realizing it's getting too spring greeny. It is not the color of mint chocolate chip ice cream. And I don't even eat mint chocolate chip ice cream, though I did find it interesting in the live. I asked everybody, like, hey, what's your favorite? And there were so many people whose favorite was mint chocolate. Was mint chocolate chip. So I am curious what your favorite is. Please let me know in the comments. So here, as I'm going through and I'm sticking with the color combination that I selected to see how it's going to shake out. And it is, in fact, far too green. And I don't love it. And that's okay. From the very beginning of my channel, I've always been a huge proponent of, like, everything is fixable. Don't just give up and walk away. Think through the problem. So my problem is my ice cream is too green and mint chocolate chip ice cream is more blue. So knowing that, I'm starting with a blue green. Okay, to add that blue back in. It was too dark. So now I'm going to go back in with a lighter green and I'm going to layer that on top and see, okay, that's not too terrible for a mint chocolate chip. There's always more than one way to get to the same place. So that one, I did a BG45. It was too dark. I went over it with a G000. This time, now I've learned a lesson. This time I'm going to skip the BG and I'm going to go straight in with the blue. I went in with a B00 and I ended up with the same exact color. Like that same color. I'm going to put them right next to each other right here. You're going to see they are almost identical. So there's always like two routes to get to where you're going. So if you don't have the same exact colors, don't experiment on your project unless it's like you don't care and you're just practicing your coloring anyway. But experiment on scrap paper and see what you can come up with if you don't have a color that you want. So now here, the pieces before the strawberry pieces were tone on tone. These pieces are not tone on tone. These pieces are chocolate. And so in order to have the chocolate, I did the same thing. I went in with a darker color, but then it's going to be very, very important to go back in with some of those greens and add little commas underneath them. That's what's going to make it look like our chocolate chips are sitting inside our ice cream, is that shadow that we place underneath it. Now, since we had a green that we didn't exactly love and we had to modify it with like some color glazing, don't forget that color too. So when we're going in and we're doing our commas and doing our stippling to get that texture, so you just want to make sure that you're still doing the blue as well. Don't forget about the blue, because it's important to keep the color the same. Otherwise, if you just go back in with the same greens and you don't go in with the blues, you're just going to end up with that same too green of an ice cream that really isn't appetizing or, realistic to that mint chocolate chip that we're trying to get. So it's been a while since I had a video up. It's because I was out of town. There's many, many stories from me being out of town. This one's filled with a lot of instruction and a little bit of story time. So I'm not going to tell you all of the adventures about us being out of town. But I will tell you that the weather. Okay, so I live in Northeast Ohio. The weather was like in the 40s. It was rainy, black. So I was like, great, we're gonna fly somewhere else and maybe we'll have different weather. But the weather followed us, and so it wasn't as rainy as it could have been. And we did have some sunny days, and that was okay. But that wind, and I know we all had the wind. Everybody had the wind. If you are in the U.S., you had the wind, and the wind was problematic. But here at home, like I remember telling my husband, one of the days, here I'm just showing you all the different ones. For the last one, I let them pick. So because we do it in a live stream, I was like, what do you guys want to do? And so we were kind of kicking around like an orange dreamsicle or, different, like a sherbet. That would work for all of these. I ended up going with peach. Because I wanted to show you how to do the different, like, chunk. It sounds terrible. God, that's a horrible descriptor. Pieces isn't right, though. The large pieces, it's chunks, guys. I don't know how else to say it, okay? I'm not trying to be like that, but it is what it is. Of, like, fruit and, like, the pieces that would be in the ice cream but are not the same color. So something different than chocolate. And so we ended up with peach, which peach ice cream is delicious. I was maybe a little heavy-handed with the color of the peach because I think peach is maybe a little bit lighter naturally. But this is what we ended up with. And it's a combination of like combining different colors, not a neutral, two different color families. But anyway, so I was telling my husband one of the days that we were out walking around and we were trying to find some stuff, for the kids. It was like 40 and sunny, but I'm like, it wasn't terrible weather, but it wasn't warm. And so I was like, I wonder what the weather is at home. And I pulled it up and it was 70. And I was like, oh man, I'm so jealous. Like it's 70 at home. Like I know the kids are outside playing, they're doing stuff, like, and it's 40 here. So, here, let me tell you what happened here. Here I felt like my orange was very sherbety and my orange was not peachy. So I'm just going to go in and do a layer of a pink, I think I went with an R20, and that added enough of a pink to make it more of a peach. So now for my chunks, I'm going in, I'm going to do the texture first and then I'll do the chunks. You guys have seen this before. I'll go back to my story as I was. I was like, it was 70, man, that's so nice, but you know how it is when you have false spring, all of that warm weather brings the winds. So I was like, this is why we have the winds. Back to the card. So here I went in with a lighter peach. It's actually called peach. It's R32. So I went in and did my pieces that you'll notice they're much bigger pieces than my strawberries. And then I'm adding a little bit of a darker red, like an R35, to act as like the center of the peach, and then blending that back out with the R32. Now, if you want this to blend even more, you can go back in with those peach colors and blend it in. But we always want to go back in and do the shadow underneath in the color of the ice cream, because that's what helps it looks like it is settled in and seated in the ice cream, not just dots that we added. Know what I'm saying? So now that I have those in there, I'm going to go back in and do my stippling. So anyway, we had a whole lot of issues. We finally made it home. Yesterday wasn't too terrible. It was probably like in the 40s. But there was a front that was coming through that we were desperately trying to avoid. And so we were able to avoid it, thank God, because you guys know my travel anxiety. So today, right now, while I am sitting here speaking to you, it's a whiteout. Like, I literally cannot see out into my yard. It is snowing so hard that you physically cannot see. Like, what is going on with the weather? It is, and it's windy. It's still that same wind, and it's snowy like crazy. I'm like, pick a lane, Mother Nature. So here, what's happening is I've stacked up my ice creams, and now I purposely put the red cherry on top and the strawberry on bottom so they wouldn't be on top of each other. I also purposely put a color in between the mint chocolate chip and the strawberry because red and green mean Christmas to me. I know that's just me and I'm weird, but I'm fine with it. So I made them all cattywampus because I wanted it to be like extra and over the top. And I'm just adding enough glue to adhere them to each other. So then from there, I'm going to take my ice cream over here, and now we've shaded them individually, but now I'm going to shade them as one unit. So I'm going to shade the ice cream cone where the strawberry ice cream is sitting on top of it. Remember, we add shading where 2 points meet or where one object lays on top of the other. So all of these ice creams are stacked on top of each other, which means that they are going to be casting shadows on to each other. So that is what you see me doing here. It's not a ton of shadow and it doesn't take a ton of time, but it does make a lot of difference in your final card. Like, these are the detail kind of things that we can add in that will take our card kind of a bit over the top. And again, going over, with our greens, don't forget the blue, because our actual color is not that spring green. It is that blue green. And then with the cherry, I'll also go in with kind of like my peach color and add in some shadows underneath that as well. Like I said before, this is a super clean and simple card because we just spent all of this time doing this coloring. And honestly, I don't want anybody looking at anything else. Like, we did a lot of coloring. If you're going to be looking at this card, you are going to be looking at my ice cream. So I did go ahead and glue that down. I'm going to add a little bit of a shadow underneath that, just because we don't want our ice cream floating in outer space. So I just did a C5, a C3, and a C1 and just blended that out so it has somewhere to sit. And then we're going to go ahead and stamp our sentiment. Our sentiment is very, very fitting. I like this birthday set a lot. It says, hope you're have an over-the-top birthday, right? Because our ice cream is crazy. And I kind of did it on the side a little, so it kind of made a little bit of sense. Now, I can't leave anything alone, so we are going to go ahead and do the detail layers. I added some white gel pen highlights to the cherries, to like the little parts in our ice cream. I'm also, that smushy part, the part that smushes out, that we added the stippling to, I'm also going to add some white dots. This is going to it's going to provide what looks like a little bit of wetness, like the light is catching that. You could also, this would be a great place to add glossy accents to, like little dots of that. Or you could do stickles if you wanted to add some serious glitter. All of those things are going to help us add that tone on tone. I did add clear Wink of Stella and I missed adding that. I apologize. It's there. I'm the shimmer. I added shimmer, guys. You know me. I am going to do the glossy accents just on the cherry. So I like to outline it and then fill it in. You can pop any hole, like any bubbles that you have with a needle. And then that is it. That's the whole card. So I hope this helps you with coloring kind of smooth textures, maybe a little bit rougher textures, adding, incorporating different counterparts. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I always appreciate your time, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.